Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Rotary Club of Seattle, this is President Kim welcoming you to Rotary Online for the last time. We have a guest today, Judy Hanel of Palm Desert, and I believe that she is our only guest. As you know, our club was founded in 1909, and we are the fourth oldest of more than 35,000 Rotary clubs in the world. Therefore, our nickname is Seattle 4. We have been online since March. And today will be a celebration, a look back and a look forward to the future of our club, concluding with the first ever virtual gavel pass to President-elect Jeff Borick. As none of us has done this transition before online, it will probably be the source of some miscues and moments of levity. We begin today with extended comments from Father Stephen Sundberg, who I am very grateful was a speaker at my first meeting and is again here today at my last. Followed by a medley from the Rotary Rogues. Our opening song will be presented by a socially distant ensemble of the Seattle Rotary Rogues, including Linda Ruff, Bill Center, Jevin Powell, and Todd Sommerfeld. Father Steve.
Thanks very much. President Kim, thanks for inviting me to speak today. It's especially a pleasure to do so on a day that celebrates and thanks you for your service as our president this past year. You invited me to speak at your very first meeting last July the 10th, and it's a privilege to bookend your year by being able to give some remarks. I hope they express your values in what I have to say. So the title of my talk last year was called Civility, Reclaiming the Idea of America. And the main point of the talk that we're founded on an idea that while France, for instance, is a fact, America is an idea. So what holds us together is that idea. I claim that it's a very simple one, like the first three words of the Constitution, we the people. We belong to one another, we struggle with one another, we fight, we agree on how to settle our disagreements. Without this idea, we the people of America would not be. So how's the idea of America doing now a year later? How's we the people been impacted by what has occurred in this 1 year in our country? Are we more of a people or less of one? Does the idea still hold? Are we struggling about it? Is the idea changing? I have a very hard time remembering, as perhaps you do, even what the year was about before about March 10th. Oh yes, there was an issue of immigration, of whether a gay man with a husband could be a president of the United States, or a woman of color. There was an impeachment of our president and the struggle over foreign meddling in the freedom of our election. But all of that has been eclipsed by the pandemic that has raged in our country, sent us into lockdown and distanced us from one another, closing our schools, businesses, putting 40 million Americans out of work, taking lives by a very cruel death of more than 120,000 Americans, exposing the seams in our society, especially the working poor and persons of color, and leaving us all threatened now and uncertain of the future. And then the killing of George Floyd has justifiably traumatized us and shown us our unaddressed and virulent discrimination and racism, especially against Black Americans. It is like layers of America have been peeled back and we the people lies exposed. Is there a new foundation on which to build anew the idea of America, we the people? I believe so. In these months we have learned in a felt and sometimes anguished way, as we had not before, that we're all vulnerable. We truly depend on one another. We have to take care of one another rather than only of ourselves, and that our most precious asset are our elderly, who are most vulnerable and most need our care. We cheer and applaud our first responders, God bless them, but we know that we are all first responders to the common well-being of our own people. We have experienced in a compelling way a need for a common good shared and appointed and supported by all. We've all been grounded in this. We have found and been forced to experience our common need for and our responsibility to one another. In this, the idea of America today, the one that alone holds us together as a people, is experientially stronger now than it was a year ago. And then that other layer, the deeper one that has been ripped off beneath the threat to our health, the layer of our unfelt, unacknowledged racism, especially toward Black Americans whom we have refused to see as being fully part of us. Our eyes have been opened to a tragic and merciless way in a violent killing and by persistent protest that we the people has not fully included, even today, we of the Black and colored community. Often they are the Black community and we are our community. How great is the healing that is called for on this deeper level that shows that currently we the people is a lie. Remember Benjamin Franklin saying that lie stands on one foot, but truth stands upon two. We have to admit that we have been standing on one foot in regard to we the people, because it is only true if Black Americans are truly part of the we. Some people have said all lives cannot matter unless Black lives matter. Our students at our university most frequently now insist that when they introduce themselves, they insist on indicating their own pronouns: he, his, him, she, her, hers, they, their, them. And they require others in introducing themselves to introduce their own pronouns. Well, the pronouns of America are we, our, us. We get the citizenship, the political leadership, the prison and education systems, the police forces, the immigration policies, the social services for the homeless and the poor. We get the city, the community, the country we deserve. Because we decide, we choose, we protest, we struggle, we shape, we include, we vote. The pronouns of America are important, but true we, not 325 million individuals, not our children and their children, but simply our children. The opportunities and benefits are not just for some of us, but for all of us. The idea of America today is stronger than it was a year ago because of the common threat of the pandemic to all of us as vulnerable and depending on one another, and because the idea of America a year ago has been unmasked and humbled by the exposure of our racism and violence. This is a very painful place to be, but it is where we need to be. I've spoken to you before of walking or taking a pilgrimage to the most sacred place in America, up the mall in Washington, D.C., from the Capitol building to the Lincoln Memorial to see Abraham Lincoln sitting there looking out upon his America, and then turning and finding the place where Martin Luther King stood to proclaim his dream of America. That, for me, is a pilgrimage to the most sacred place in America. There's been another pilgrimage for me in these strange months, a more personal one that began in my isolation and in my heart. One weekend, I asked myself, where can I go? I decided to go to Fern Hill Cemetery in Aberdeen, where my parents are buried, and to stand there at their graves and those of my mother's family. I found a great peace, a beauty, a sacredness, a settledness, a holiness, a connection with history. So each weekend, I've now been slowly pacing the cemeteries of Seattle and region: Lakeview, Holyrood, Calvary, Pacific Lutheran, Washelli, Pleasant Hill, Fort Lawton, Rosalind. It's a meditative way to be in contact with truth, to stand on 2 feet, to be grateful for all those who have gone before us, to find peace in the common destiny of us all, to absorb the history of our country engraved on those headstones. What I am grasping for in a time of isolation and distance and emptiness is connectedness to a common people, a we, of then and now and tomorrow. So I wonder, what has been the personal pilgrimage that you have been making in these times, and where is it leading you? Speeches I've heard in these recent days have ended with a call to action, so here's mine. Let's continue to reach out unexpectedly to others and ask, how are they doing? Let's visit a senior care facility once we can get beyond the separating panes of glass. Let's appreciate every meal, every movie, every sport, every assembly, every form of fellowship, every Rotary meeting, every religious service, every freedom. Let's honor and provide a decent livelihood and security to those, especially the undocumented, who work for us and make our lives possible and pleasant. Let's tell our Black friends we'd enjoy being invited into their homes and invite them into ours. Let's advocate and legislate to be sure to have the police force and the prison system we want for the kind of people that we are. Let's engage in active citizen. Let's vote every time, always. Let's read and learn the true two-footed history of America. Let's consider all American children our children and assure them the education they need as a foundation for the future of our country. Let's return to religion, to believing in something or someone bigger and more merciful and kinder than we have shown ourselves to be. Let's take our own pilgrimage to the most sacred place in our America, among our people, past, present, and future. So Kim, President Kim, these are my remarks in the concluding meeting of your Rotary for this year, after a remarkable and memorable year in our country, in our club, in your presidency, and in your leadership. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Rotary Rogues, and thank you, Father Steve. I don't know how the Rogues come up with those lyrics. It's pretty amazing. Natalie Spiro is the CEO for Drum Cafe North America and is no stranger to Rotary. She has presented at Rotary events for more than 5 years, including the 2018 International Assembly hosted by San Diego Rotary. I became aware of Natalie about 17 months ago at the Long Beach Large Club Conference. I wish I could communicate what it felt like to enter a ballroom to the pulsating beat of an African drum, where Natalie had a drum for every participant next to their chair. Somehow, Natalie managed to teach everyone to drum and to get everyone on the same beat. If you can remember how as song leader, I loved the science that says our heartbeats begin to synchronize when we sing in community, then you can understand why my dream was for Natalie to come to Seattle with a drum for everyone. Natalie came to the United States from South Africa in 2000, and her presence today will demonstrate how a business that is based on live performance continues to thrive in the pandemic. Natalie promised we would have fun. So what do you have for us today, Natalie?
Thank you so much, Kim. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, so it's going to be a little different on Zoom, but we're going to have fun anyway, okay? So just take a deep breath, put your hand on your heart. Can you feel that heartbeat? Can you hear that heartbeat? And say, if I can move and I can breathe, I've got rhythm. I am a drummer. Come on, say it. Beautiful. I can't hear you, but I can see your mouths moving. Just feel that heartbeat, that pulse. You know it, you own it, because you experienced it 6 inches away from your mother's heartbeat before you were born. Now, before there were any instruments, our body was our instrument, right? So it is this pulse, this heartbeat that connects us all as this powerful community of Seattle Club Rotarians. By feeling this internal beat, and you can feel that heartbeat with a pulse, this core pulse, when we feel it together as one community, it connects our heartbeats and it starts to syncopate together. This is what we do, right? Rotarians rise to the occasion, whether it is eradicating polio, whether it's finding clean water on the planet, or fighting for the homeless. We always do the right thing. We are people of action, right? We find solutions. So now I know you were told to go and get some musical instruments, whether they are kitchen utensils, you might have drumsticks, you might want to use your hands on your chairs, on your bodies, on your partner's back. Choose whatever you want to do, but get an instrument in your hand, okay? And start moving, guys, because if you aren't having fun, there's no point. All right. So I want you to imagine now and visualize that we are all in one room together, shoulder to shoulder with a big drum, a djembe drum between your legs. And I really want you to feel into that sense of community and celebration, because this is the party. This is where we're going to have some fun. All right, guys, are we ready? So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to count you in. I'm going to say 1, 2, let's all groove. And what I want you to do is I want you to start air drumming or using your instruments. Okay, and have some fun with it. You can have a bottle with a shaker, popcorn shaker, or just your hands. All right, guys, everybody together. 1, 2, let's all groove. Come on, I want to see those hands moving. If you want to stand up and move your body a little bit, that's also fantastic. All right, awesome. So this is what it feels like to harmonize as one powerful and extraordinary community of Rotarians. This club has shown and seen 111 years of brave and courageous change agents. And today, we say goodbye to a great leader, Kim Moore, and to celebrate a year of success in both civic engagement and civil discourse. So as you improvise in this space, keep it going, guys, as you improvise in this space of real pure acceptance, you know that you're tapping into the much greater Rotary energy so that you can create in the whole what is so much better and greater than the sum of its parts. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to speed this up. It's called a rumble in drumming, and it looks like this, okay? So I'm going to want you to rumble with your hands on your instruments, and when I say stop like that with my body, you stop rumbling, and then you come back in, okay? So here we go. 1, 2, let's all rumble, rumble, and rumble, and rumble, and stop. Oh, we're changing the vibration on this planet, people. Here we go again. Rumble, 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 and stop. One more time. Rumble, and stop. Rumble, and stop. Rumble. Ah, got you there. Okay. All right, now, all of you who are wearing pajama pants or shorts, I want you to start drumming now, okay? I'm going to count you in. Only the ones wearing pajama pants or shorts. 1, 2, let's all groove. You guys get into the groove. Those of you wearing regular clothes, wait for me. So let's see your groove, guys. Beautiful, and play with it. Those of you now wearing regular clothes, 1 finger, 1 beat, okay? 2 fingers, 2 beats. Here we go. It may be a little unsyncopated on the screen, but just hear the music. So 1 beat. I'm going to do a sequence, and I'm going to count you in. Are we ready? Everybody else, I want to see you drumming. The ones in pajama pants. And if you're not wearing pajama pants, then just drum anyway, some of you. So 1 beat. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh. 1. 2. 2. 3. 3. 1. Beautiful. 1, 2, let's all groove. So you guys get back into the groove. Now, the ones who are wearing the other group, okay? Not the ones that we just did with the shots. You guys, 4, 3, 2, 1, cut. All right, so some of you are drumming, guys. Some of you are drumming. The rest of you, another sequence. It's your turn. 1 finger, 1 shot. So here we go. 1, 2, 2, 4, 1. All right, let's try 9, guys. 9. Here we go. Power. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, not so on target. One more time. Beautiful. 1, 2, let's all groove. So everybody, you should be drumming now. Come on. Beautiful. And shake your bodies, because this is about having fun. Let me tell you that in Africa, we have a term called Ubuntu. Somebody's unmuted, so can you all mute yourselves? Caroline, if you can just mute everybody. Beautiful. Somebody's unmuted. The cacophony there. Just mute yourself, please, everybody. But in Africa, we have a term. It's called Ubuntu, and it means I am who I am because of everybody around me. And what it talks to is that as human beings, we cannot exist in isolation. We're all interconnected, and when we really step into the spirit of Ubuntu, we're just open and affirming to others, not threatened by our diversity of thought or beingness. In this time, the concept of Ubuntu is so important because Seattle Rotary, you're about friendship and fellowship, speaker programs, and service. And the magic of Rotary is about having these authentic, heartfelt conversations. So now I'm going to have a conversation with you. I'm going to express a sequence of notes on my musical instrument, my air drum. You're going to respond back to me that same sequence of notes as a call and response conversation with your instrument. Are we ready, gang? Let's take a breath. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Now you. I can only see about 4 people doing it. Come on, guys. We're having a conversation, authentic and heartfelt. Here we go. Clap, beat, clap, clap, beat. Yes. Now you. Ah, you got it. All right, let's try something else.
Believe.
Okay. Excellent. Beautiful. All right, guys, everybody together now. This is the big finish. 2 fingers, 2 beats. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bam, bam. Bam, bam. Bam, bam, bam. Bam. Beautiful. Rumble. Rumble. And bring the rumble down. Softly, softly, softly. 2 beats. Here we go. Perfect. Rumble. Come on, guys. Louder, louder. Louder, louder. All right. 2 beats. Here we go.
Oh my God, somebody has a ruler.
Yes. Let's all groove, guys. Into the groove. I want to say thank you for sharing your energy and your passion and your beautiful cacophony of sound with us all today. For this club and Kim's leadership, everybody here, Kim, is all drumming for you. All right, guys, so here we go. Big finish. 4, 3, 2. Good job, guys. Good job. Was that fun?
Natalie, Natalie, thank you so much. That was very entertaining. I think I was laughing more than I was drumming.
Laughter's good in these times, I have to say.
All right. Well, hopefully one day Seattle Fort Rotarians can experience you in person.
I pray.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Kim, this is Caroline. I'm just going to mute everybody again and then unmute you. So just give me 1 second, okay?
Yep.
All right, you should be good to go.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So as you know, everyone, our theme this year was civil discourse and civic engagement. We have had many opportunities to practice, beginning with Father Steve's remarks last July and his call to action again today. Father Steve, I am honored again that you were able to bookend my year. Thank you. I would like to highlight a few examples of civil discourse and civic engagement which you accomplished. And Caroline, where's our PowerPoint?
Yes, okay.
So the PowerPoint is coming up. The boards of the Seattle Rotary Service Foundation and the Rotary Club of Seattle met jointly and agreed to work more efficiently. We have already made important progress with respect to the sharing of resources and viewing ourselves as one organization. Congratulations to Task Force Leader David Woodward, both boards, and the task force members. Any luck? There it is. Excellent. Okay.
That's so weird. I'm so sorry, everybody.
That's okay.
I'm
That's
doing
the change.
same thing. Okay.
That's okay. Okay. And so here is the Change Management Task Force. And the recommendations approved by both boards included a seamless relationship between the two legal entities. Also to streamline the operations of the club and to realign and/or augment staffing. The next slide shows that we held 5 table talks throughout the year, including a discussion of the value proposition of membership in Seattle 4. 140 of you responded to the survey and told us that you most value fellowship and social interaction, 47%. Your responses clarified our value proposition. I am grateful to Task Force Leader Skip Kotkins and members of the Strategic Options Task Force for guiding us in this work. Next slide. On the 400th anniversary of the first slave ship arriving in Jamestown, Virginia, August 21, 2019, we hosted an historic meeting at Town Hall with members of our community for a gripping conversation entitled, Who We Are, a Chronicle of Racism in America. I was encouraged by a group of past presidents to present this program. One in particular, with perfect foresight, said, "This is the most important work we should be doing." With respect to regular ongoing Rotary business, all work that goes to sustain our club is valued, and we appreciate each and every one of you. I am grateful for the work of our service committees led by Jimmy Collins, membership led by Patrick Carter, and programs led by Jeff Pyatt. Congratulations to Peace Builders. I don't have a slide for this, but they received the district award last Wednesday when District Governor-elect Kathy Gibson received her gavel. The voting was online, and our Peace Builders won for its work against sex trafficking. My fellow Rotarians, as your president, I have a final ask of you. I invite you to engage in meaningful conversation with each other, our fellow citizens, our families, and our friends. In this moment, we can choose to respond by listening, learning, and supporting each other. My first example is that we currently have 50+ members in their early years of Rotary membership. By bringing them into the fold with inclusion and mentorship, we will help them experience the value proposition that long-term Rotarians hold dear. Each year, Rotarians accomplish much despite and perhaps because of what is happening in the world. The COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on Seattle is far from over. Rotarian engagement will continue to be a necessary, positive impact for our community, whether addressing personal protective equipment, food insecurity, the opioid crisis, or support for the recovery of downtown. Let's take a look at personal protective equipment. Working with Rotarians Christy Chen, Carl Egge, and Liam Lee, Seattle 4 helped provide thousands of masks to those on the front lines of the pandemic, our first responders and food bank workers. Thanks to Mark Wright, we received coverage from King 5 of Mayor Durkin and Chief Scoggins accepting the delivery. You've heard about it, and I'm happy to share it again. The Standing with Our Neighbors Through Food Banks initiative is unusual in that it was funded by the Rotary Club of Seattle Reserves, the Seattle Rotary Service Foundation, and our members. Both boards matched Rotarian gifts, and a total of $31,000 was provided to food banks in late April through May 31st. It gave Rotarians who were socially distancing an opportunity to support their local frontline neighborhoods in their own neighborhoods, and to hand deliver the checks and to celebrate with the food banks. With regard to our legacy as the Downtown Seattle Rotary Club, some may remember the difficult years in the late 80s and early 90s when downtown became unpredictable and the business climate problematic. Consequences included the closing of venerable retailer Fredericks and Nelson's, founded in 1891. However, through creative partnerships, perseverance, and leadership, including Rotarians in this club, downtown Seattle rebounded and was acknowledged nationally as one of the best examples of a vibrant big city downtown. I am encouraged by this Rotary tradition of stepping into, not away from, seemingly desperate circumstances. Today, we have 3 of our city's chief executives in our club: King County Executive Dow Constantine, Chief of Police Carmen Best, and Fire Chief Harold Scoggins, who share responsibility for the health and safety of downtown. Rotarians must be their partners in securing the welfare of our city. I invite you to continue this tradition of coming together to have robust conversations about topics that matter. Next slide, please. A few weeks ago, our program highlighted the Peace Builders Committee's conversations about the book White Fragility over the past year. When I asked Peace Builders to share what they learned, Harry Short and Jane Tornator bravely agreed to speak. I have served with Jane, but never had a conversation with Harry until right before that program. Harry's heartfelt story about his family's experience with race felt raw and drew me into his life. It illustrated that there are many stories yet to be shared in our club. And I believe that the telling of these stories will bring us closer. Our stories will help us better appreciate each other. Our stories will teach us how to navigate situations which are uncomfortable and are increasingly unavoidable. Why not hold these conversations in the safe and caring place that is Seattle 4? Why not learn from our fellow Rotarians, whom we already know and trust? For 110 years, Rotarians have demonstrated their desire to engage and take action. I invite you to continue the amazing conversations that have already begun with love, respect, and curiosity about what is happening in our city and in the world. Let's listen to our fellow Rotarians, our families, and our fellow citizens. I have seen that you have the character. I believe that you have the courage. And I know that the Rotary tenants support you in continuing these conversations. We do not know where they will lead, and that's okay. I am confident in your ability. These conversations are not merely what we do, they will be who we become. Better informed, even more courageous, and deeply empathic. It has been my honor to serve as the 110th president of Seattle 4. Thank you.
Okay,
So, turn the program over to Jeff Pyatt.
yes. All right, Jeff, I am unmuting you.
I'm live.
All right.
Thank you for those beautiful words. And I've told you 100 times how much I've enjoyed working with you, and thank you for the opportunity. It wouldn't be the end of a Rotary year without a proclamation from Fred Weiss. With that, I will turn the mic over to Fred, please.
Okay. Let me unmute you, Fred, here just a second. right, sorry about that. There we go.
Okay, am I on?
You're on. You
Well,
threw
this
me for a loop.
proclamation is to Kim Moore, and I have 112th president. We've maybe stuck in one there somewhere, of the Rotary Club of Seattle. Rotary has been blessed by presidents who have amply handled all current events, but never before, ending with 3 months of COVID-19, then shutdowns, riots, looting, general bitterness throughout America, and especially Seattle's Capitol Hill's anarchy experiment. Our Rotary presidents, like our nation's presidents, come in all sizes: male, female, black, white, sassy, pensive, and exuberant, each bringing us a vigorous variety of programs this past year encompass that tradition and then some. America is at a crossroads almost like 240 years ago. Ideas and philosophies are espoused and disputed. Our founding fathers knew men were not angels, yet they conceived the Constitution with checks and balances thought sufficient to smooth out the bumps surely to be encountered by this blessed experiment of self-government. Many thought these founders to be geniuses. Now some fear our leaders have morphed into idiots. With experiences this past year, however, our prescient founders would not be surprised at all. So we press on, ever striving for that more perfect union, knowing America, Rotary, and all here gathered today will survive and continue to thrive. A big debt of gratitude this year is also owed to our program chairman, Jeff Pyatt. He did a great job. The ever-present sergeant at arms and quick-witted. The all-important treasurer, Robert Stadler, and our competent staff, Caroline Bobinick and Mariah Kempton. Whereas last August, we had a joint meeting at Town Hall, Seattle. The speaker, civil rights attorney, Harvard-educated, and ACLU deputy director, Jeff Robinson. Jeff literally mesmerized us for 2 hours with heartfelt views of America's slavery history. He left many full of emotions, profound thoughts, and oh my God. While some of us may take umbrage at Jeff's views on reparations, individual taxes, and general atonement to be allocated by some unstated, sophisticated formula, far be it from me to criticize such an erudite person. His extemporaneous memory of details, dates, names, quotes is formidable. And were I ever be charged with a serious felony, I would be pleased and well served to hire him as my defense counsel. I expect his fees would be equally formidable, but worth every $100,000 he charged me. And he received a standing ovation and should have. Whereas in September, we welcomed Brandon Lee, Consul General of Canada, our cherished neighbor and ambassador to Silicon Valley. Not surprisingly, he spoke of artificial intelligence, the digital economy, crisscrossing of oil pipelines and face recognition, and self-reliance versus looking to big efficient government. He spoke of the future. It was a fine program. He too should have received a standing ovation. Whereas in November, Giovanna Mingarelli gave us an uplifting talk from kindness to climate change, and besides being quite pretty, which is always appreciated by at least half of us in the club, she left us quotes. When I was 11, I wanted to change the world. Today, I'm wiser, so I'm trying to change myself. And whereas David Domke, University of Washington professor, talked to us on how to beat American demagogue. I wasn't sure whether that was Trump or Pelosi, but he strove to enlighten us on things like birth sex versus chosen sex, of the 65 Voting Rights Act versus voter ID, freedom of speech versus censorship, anything not politically correct in some eyes, things that right-wing guys like me obviously need to be made better aware of. Guess what? He got a standing ovation and deserved it. Whereas in October brought us King County Judge Jim Rogers. Serving a jury, he said, is a privilege, and it certainly is. Crime rates are declining. He didn't say why, but what a difference 7 months seems to have made. He ended up praising the late Norm Mailing and Ron Sims as fine public leaders, and certainly that was true. Whereas in October, Our police chief, Carmen Best, 30 years in Seattle police chief, and now 9 months later, a tough spot, but she's handled it. Whereas in November, John Crocker treated us a glimpse of his years with Jane Goodall in Tanzania, studying the chimpanzee. Did you know they nursed their babies for 5 years? Lucky chimps, I'd say. Dr. Crocker became inured to comments like, "My, you have an ugly baby there." Initially thought chumps were nicer than humans, but soon came to realize their vicious side and so changed his view. And whereas in February, Tessa Code shocked us with the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, a charge heavily leveled at the fishing industry, but including perhaps many of us boaters or former yachtsmen. In retrospect, her fine talk now seems a premonition of the recent trashing of Seattle and many other American cities these last weeks. Now, therefore, however you slice it, Kim's ever-pleasant, steady in hand as our president produced a span of outstanding speakers, diversity aplenty, and ample humor, should we pause to savor it, who tide us over through these difficult months of shutdown riots, sprinkled with a touch of anarchy on all sides. Done this 24th day of June, the first and hopefully only time ever viewed on Zoom for our members at large and assorted ancient mariners who incidentally started this hosted change of command opportunity or events 67 years ago. That's it. Thank you, Kim.
Okay, you're up, Jeff. You need to unmute yourself.
I'm done.
There you go.
Thank you very much, Fred. That was just what I was hoping for. So we were trying to figure out how to make Kim's year special other than let her see all of us in 1 by 2 inch boxes. And it seemed that she deserved to hear a few words about how some of us feel about you, Kim. And so I asked Dorothy Bullitt, Paula Houston, and Bill Center to share a few of their thoughts, and they will do that one after the other in that order.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for your leadership this year. In his anthem, Lean on Me, Bill Withers sang, "Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend, I'll help you carry on." In the midst of a pandemic, an economic crisis, and social upheaval rivaling that of 1968, Kim Moore helped us carry on. She stood strong and let us lean on her. From my perspective as Kim's friend and informal sounding board, and as a past president, I observed the tremendous effort she made as president-elect preparing for her year at the podium, and again during her year as president of this club. She faced 3 significant challenges: her full-time job and the demands of the Rotary presidency meant she was working virtually all the time. 2, membership erosion due to downtown traffic, rising parking rates, and dangers, both real and perceived, in the retail core required Kim to tackle financial and structural issues not faced by those of us who presided over this club during simpler and more affluent times. And 3, transforming Seattle Rotary on the fly during a once-in-a-century pandemic and related depression. Throughout the year, Kim provided us with inspirational leadership at the podium and unfailing graciousness toward our speakers, our visitors, and our members, both real and virtual. Kim's sense of duty, civic patriotism, readiness to innovate, willingness to take risks at our meetings, such as Jeff Robinson's town hall presentation, and executive leadership behind the scenes have earned my admiration and gratitude. Her transformation of Rotary meetings from the banquet halls we are used to Rotary via Zoom was extraordinary, reminding us that Rotary can endure and adapt regardless of the threats we face. To paraphrase Bill Withers, starting today, Just call on us, sister, when you need a hand. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, we are right up the road. We will share your load. Call on us. Those you have helped carry through this challenging year. Those who appreciate your leadership and ability to offer us normalcy during a chaotic time. Thank you, Kim. We are so grateful for all you have done for Seattle Forward this past year and before. Thank you for your strength and your steadiness. Now it's time for you to call on us, your friends and admirers. Lean on us now. Lean on us. Go for it, Paula.
Thank you, Dorothy. Well, Kim, I want to talk to you about the fact that you have been a friend, a mentor, and one of the handful of people who are my truth tellers. We all need all of those in our lives, but you have been really a key figure in my life. I need to go back a little bit in history. We met in a gym. You were my personal training clients. We became fast friends. We became teammates. We became supports for each other as we were each going through different and difficult parts of our lives. I recall very distinctly when I was going through something very difficult, both job and personal, and I just couldn't figure out why I couldn't keep it together. And as a truth teller, you just looked directly at me and you said, "That's just too much, Paula. That's just too much. No one can keep up with all of that." And I remember that all the time, and I come back to that, and I think I've told you that I come back to that. As a friend, I also remember during that time we were both tired. You called up one evening and said, "I'm tired, you're tired, let's go to Hawaii next week." And I said, "Next week?" You're like, "Yes, let's just go." And I said, I've never been on an actual vacation. Okay. And we went to your friend Tom's home on the Big Island, and that was my actual very first vacation in 1996. We had a wonderful, wonderful time, and I would not have done that. I remember after that, we continued on as both teammates in powerlifting, and I as your personal trainer, up until the time our gym closed. That wonderful, wonderful gym, the Gateway. And I know we lost touch after a time, as people do. No reason. I was doing things, you were doing other things. But then we came back together. I recall when I became the executive director of the Meredith Matthews East Madison Y. And within about a month of each other, I think I had lunch with you, and you said, we got back together and you said, "You need to join Rotary." And then I feel like it was a couple of weeks, and Faith Ireland also said, "You need to join Rotary." And I remember going, "What's Rotary?" Okay, I guess I need to join this. And so the two of you became my sponsors, and I joined Rotary. And one of the best decisions that I ever made. Fast forward to 2016, when I was diagnosed with cancer for the third time. And it was Rotarians that helped me get through that. And you in particular were there for me in a way that I hadn't expected, but don't know why I didn't expect it. I had 25 chemo treatments, and you were there for almost every one of them. You weren't able to stay the whole 4 hours or 5 hours, but almost every time you said, "Nope, I'm coming, we're gonna sit, and I just wanna be with you." And as I've told you, my oncologist and the nurses at Virginia Mason still talk about the conversations that we would have, because we would laugh, you would keep me laughing and not remembering that I was sitting there very, very sick, getting poison dumped into my to my veins. And that was just the most heartfelt and caring and most kind thing that I could have imagined that anyone could do. I want to say that as you then became a leader more formally in Rotary, and I became more involved in Rotary, and I asked you as you came into your presidency what I could do besides continue to be on the board and do the formal parts. You said, I need you to just give me a hug. I just need you to give me a hug. And harking back to what Dorothy said, that's where you get to lean on me and I get to lean on you. But if that's what you need, that's what I'm here for, any day, anytime. We've been friends for over 20 years. I expect us to continue to be friends for 20 more and more than that. So Kim, the things that make you a wonderful, kind, caring, compassionate friend also are what make you a wonderful, kind, care, and compassionate leader. I love you. It's been a great year. You will continue to do great things together. Thanks.
Thank you, Paula. I'm so grateful to Kim and Faith for persuading you to join our club, because otherwise we might not have met. And I just admire the heck out of you. And thank you for those great words. And thank you, Dorothy. And thank you, Jeff. I don't know if you noticed, but about 8 or so minutes ago, Larry Granite wrote in the chat box that this will go down as one of the greatest Rotary years ever. And I agree with him wholeheartedly. And I think that you, Jeff, played just a huge role in that. We've had great programs. So thank you all, Jeff and Dorothy and Paula. You know, 57 years ago, when I first began a serious study of leadership, one of the questions debated at length was, do great historical challenges produce great leaders, or do great leaders rise to meet those challenges? Today, we know that you can learn to lead, and our best leaders are well prepared for even the most immense challenges. President Kim is a great leader. We knew that when we elected her, but none of us anticipated the challenges she would face. Those who know Kim were not surprised by the grace, composure, and resourcefulness with which she met those challenges. Kim's facility and proficiency with the technology needed to move our weekly meetings online helped put us all at ease and kept the spirit of Seattle alive and well in a way few of us could have envisioned just 6 months ago. Kim is kind, considerate, thoughtful, organized, and tough as nails. She leads by example with smarts, empathy, and genuine enthusiasm. Kim sometimes tells the story of how she and I met at the very first Rotary luncheon she attended. It may not have been her first Rotary luncheon, but I understood it that way. And she came as the guest of Skip Rowland. I'll tell you now, and this is God's truth, within a few minutes of meeting her, I knew our club would be better with her as a member, and I gave her the hard sell. And I mean the Herb Bridge, Phil Smart, Don Kraft kind of hard sell. Happily, she was receptive. And I thought to myself, this club will really be something even more special the day we have this lady as our president. President Kim, thank you for indeed making our club and your year as our president something truly special. You are incredible, my friend. And it's now my singular honor and privilege to present you with the traditional golden badge of a past president of Seattle 4 and a diamond-studded past president's Rotary pin to match your diamond-studded personality. That's it, Kim. Now there's just one thing standing between you and the official end of your year as our club president, and that's our traditional passing of the gavel ceremony, which I'm very pleased to say will be kicked off again this year by our honored member and past president, Don Kraft. Over to you, Don.
Hi, Kim. Are you getting me?
Yep, we hear you.
Oh, okay. I have 17 of your friends standing beside me here virtually, all past presidents, and for the traditional gavel passing ceremonies. Believe it or not, I've been privileged to know 85 presidents of this club, some of them back about the time I was born, who still were in when I came in. And as 76 men, and now 9 women in the past 17 years. And Kim, I can tell you, not one of them did a better job than you in focusing on the question, how can Seattle Rotary contribute to the well-being of our community and our world? You did it with consistency, dedication, and always good humor. Thank you. Now on to our president who admitted women into our club. Here's to John Durbin.
Thank you, Don. It's my pleasure to pass this on to past President Neil McReynolds.
Thank you, John. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to pass the gavel to our first woman president, Ann Farrell.
It's not here.
Okay, Skip Gotkins.
Well, thank you very much, Neil. And because it's been a fun year, it's my pleasure to pass the gavel to Bill Weisfield.
Thank you, Skip. And Kim, I bring you greetings from the year 1998 to 1999. You've had a beautiful year, and rather than a gavel, I thought this bouquet of flowers passing to next president, Dorothy Bullitt, would be appropriate.
Thank you, Bill and Kim. Congratulations. I look forward to passing this gavel to Todd Sommerfeld.
Thanks, Dorothy. It's been a big year of working and shaping, Kim. Jeff, you're going to need the same kind of hammer. Off to you, Carl.
Thanks, Todd. And I pass this rather large gavel to Admiral Bill Center.
Thank you, Carl. I just want to recognize past presidents Nancy Lux and John Iverson, who would have come before me and after me. We deeply miss both of them, and it's my honor to pass this gavel on to Nancy Osborne.
Thank you, Past President Bill. It is my honor to pass on my very special pink hammer to Tim Bendokis. And Kim, you did an amazing job. So proud of everything, and now get some rest.
Thank you, Nancy. It's my pleasure to hold the gavel here. And Kim, I think when we look in the Rotary Dictionary under leadership, we'll see your picture. And here's the gavel to the great Stan Chrissy.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. And Kim, I pile on here. I just think that you did a magnificent job, and it's been a pleasure and an honor to be a member of this club under your leadership. And now passing the gavel on to Jim McCurdy.
Thank you. Jim McCurdy here. Kim, I think it's great. We're keeping traditions. I'm actually passing my father's gavel on to Laura Rearman. But first, I want to say congratulations on a job well done.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much. Kim, we have the right leader at the right time. No one could have done the job that you did with the grace and humor and style and fortitude. Thank you for your leadership. And I pass this gavel on to Sue Nixon.
Thank you, Laura. Kim, I am still recovering from Dorothy and Paula and Bill's comments, who captured you and your leadership so beautifully, as have all the others. So thank you. This is a particular gavel that is being passed to our next receiver of the gavel, which is Kathy Gibson.
Thank you very much, Past President Sue.
And thank you, Kim, and your leadership team. I salute you for a wonderful year this year. 2019, 2020 will go down in club history, and I'm happy to pass the gavel now to past President Mark Wright.
Kathy, thank you. And I have the distinct honor of passing this gavel, also known as a rubber mallet from my workshop. Kim, you have been the definition of grace under fire this year. And I just want to say we are so proud of the job that you did for all of us this year. And we know how much work it is. So as someone else said, get some rest. And so it's my honor to pass the gavel to you as you end your year for us.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you all past presidents. I am in awe of what all of you have done. And I am so delighted that we are continuing this Rotary tradition virtually. I am almost unable to speak. I'm so overcome with gratitude and appreciation for this program today. Jeff, I am wishing you great success on your year. And probably my greatest wish is that you are not passing the gavel virtually.
Well, Kim, thank you so much. And I tried to really channel your guidance as to what I would use for my gavel, and I happily selected a meat tenderizer because I know you've had a tough year, and I'm going to try and meet toughness with some tenderization. So, but all kidding aside, everyone feels a tremendous sense, I think, of honor and responsibility when this opportunity comes your direction. And you've set the bar so high. Really appreciate everything you and your team have done for the club over the last, I was going to say 12 months, but we know it takes at least 6 months of preparation and at least 6 weeks of recovery. So thank you again for all you've done. I want to share just one thought as I get ready to step into the podium, and that's that our performer earlier today mentioned the term Ubuntu and talked about the concept of African spirit. And oddly enough, because of my work in the tech industry, a South African startup used that term for their product offering. So I'm a bit more familiar with it. It's actually an extension or abbreviation of a Zulu phrase that literally means that a person is a person through other people. And to me, that's what a big part of the spirit of Rotary is really all about. And so, again, thank you for all you've done. Let me just give you a brief glimpse into our July 8th program. I'm really pleased to remind folks that an initiative that has long been supported by Number 4 and other Rotary clubs in the area is the Peace Trees Vietnam initiative. And that initiative will be having its 25th anniversary coming up. So in recognition of that, we'll have a special guest as our short program. And then in recognition of just how challenging some of the local businesses have had, I'm very proud to share that a senior executive of Holland American Group will be visiting us to talk about the critical role the maritime commerce plays in the Northwest and how they've tried to deal with the current challenges associated with managing global operations and seafarer rotations during a pandemic. So with that brief teaser, Kim, let me just pass the gavel back to you one more time.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks to all of our program participants, Father Steve, our Rotary Rogues, Natalie Spiro, Jeff Pyatt, our surprise speakers, Bill Center, Paula Houston, and Dorothy Bullock. My heart is full. I can almost not talk for that and for the comments in the chat. Thank you so much. Welcome to Jeff. As we close out the program, welcome to Jeff as of July 1. Thank you to everyone who made this year possible, especially all those who had active roles pre-pandemic, our greeters, mic handlers, welcome table captains, and Sergeant-at-Arms Ken Grant. We have missed you so much, and we'll be glad to see you again eventually. Thanks to Executive Director Caroline Bobanek. Caroline, you were so brave today. Thank you for hanging in there. And to Program Manager Mariah Kempton and all of the sponsors of our video library. To everyone, gratitude and appreciation for being part of this year. We are adjourned.